In this video, we'll go over the activity Spin It. Our goal for this activity is to help students learn about different units of measuring length and how to relate them to one another. The overall lesson will be 40 minutes in total with 3 parts. However, in this video, I will go over the part 2, which is Spin It. The materials needed are a spinner, dice, and tape measurements. Now on to the activity. There are 3 goals for mentors to think about in this activity. The first is to make sure students learn about different units of measuring length and relate them to one another. The second is to use manipulations and visuals to make sense of the proportions. And finally, to gamify the activity by bringing low-stakes vibes and interactions. The activity flow will be, first, the student will spin the spinner twice to get 2 units, Unit 1 and Unit 2. Then, they'll roll the die. Let's say they got a number P. They'll then create an equation based on the die and the spinner units. P equals the number that was rolled. The equation will be P of Unit 1 is equal to something of Unit 2. Some great things to do for the students in this activity is to think about what is approximately this amount of unit long. And then help the students solve by approximating a little bit if needed. We'll be going over 3 examples. For my video, I'll be using 2 websites since I don't have a physical spinner or die. The first is the Wheel of Names website, and then the second is the Calculator Net website for the die. So let's go with example 1. I'll first spin on the spinner, and the spinner can be seen in the student guide. The first unit I got is quarter. And then I spin again. And the second unit I got was yard. After spinning, we'll have them roll the die. I rolled the die, and I got 4. Therefore, with all of the information, we have Unit 1 equals quarter, Unit 2 equals yard, P equals 4, making our equation 4 quarters equals how many yards? We know that a yard can be seen on a football field through these lines. Luckily for us, we also learned in the student guide that 1 quarter is equivalent to 0.25 yards, or 1/4 of a yard. Therefore, we can do some math. If 4 quarters is asked for, we can do 0.25 times 4, since 1 quarter is 0.25 of a yard. Our final answer would be 4 quarters equals 1 yard. Or in other words, for 1 yard, there'll be needed 4 quarters. This makes sense because as seen in the diagram here, 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters make up 1 total yard. So that was an easy example. Let's try something a little bit more tricky. Example 2. Let's go ahead and spin again. So I spin and I get the first unit as the Egyptian cubit. I spin and I'll get the second unit as, close, but we got a yard again. And then I'll spin the die like I did last time, spin, 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 and we get 1. So Unit 1 is Egyptian cubit, Unit 2 is yard. We rolled P as 1, which make our equation 1 Egyptian cubit equals how many yards? I had to do a little bit of research on what an Egyptian cubit was. What I found was that an Egyptian cubit is a unit of measurement that was used in the olden times. This was typically used by architects in Egypt to create pyramids. Their approximation was that 1 cubit was the length of the forearm plus the palm. Therefore, we can approximate how many Egyptian cubits can be in 1 yard by remembering the picture that we saw earlier. As we know, 1 yard can be seen in the football field. You can think of how many cubit, or your forearm and hand, can fit between these 2 markings. For an average adult, it's about half of a yard. Therefore, we can approximate that 1 Egyptian cubit is about half a yard. Very good. You're getting the hang of the activity. So let's go on to our final example, which is going to be a challenge. In this example, I'll go ahead and use 2 die actually instead of 1. This means the measurements will be a bit larger than the previous examples. So as before, we'll spin to see what units we get. My first spin, I got inches. And then for my second spin, I get foot. And now time to roll the 2 die. I will be working with 44. Great. Our first unit is foot, and our second unit is inches. Our rolled number is 44, making our equation 44 feet equals how many inches? Something we know that can save us some time about approximating is that 12 inches equals 1 feet. In other words, in 1 foot, there is exactly 12 inches. Therefore, we can do some math to calculate how many inches are in 44 feet. We can do that by multiplying 12 inches times 44. 44 times 12, using the calculator, is 528 inches. Something interesting to think about and to know is to see how big is this in comparison to one another. The great Buddha statue of Kamakura in Japan is approximately 44 feet. Crayons are about 3.5 inches. How many inches do you think that can fit to get the total height of the statue? Since crayons are 3.5 inches, what we can do is 528 divided by 3.5. Therefore, it'll take around 151 crayons to measure all the way up to the Buddha statue. I hope you found this video helpful. Good luck on the lesson!